Hello and welcome, my dear students, my dear Rajeshwarians. Hope all of you are healthy and safe. Today we will be continuing with Footprints Without Feet, Lesson 1, A Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot. We have been doing this last 2 days and we shall be continuing with it. I will tell you the summary once again. The narrator of the story is Mr. Harriet. He is a veterinary surgeon. He was really worried about the dog, and the name of the dog was Tricky. And Mr. Harriet, the narrator, who is a veterinary surgeon, was shocked to see the dog with its mistress. It has become hugely fat. So he was shocked to see it with its mistress. It has become hugely fat. Its eyes had become red. Its tongue came out from its jaws. So it was in a state of disease. So who was responsible for this disease, for this condition of Tricky? None other than its mistress herself. The mistress of the dog was Mrs. Pumphrey. She told Mr. Harriet that the dog seemed to have no energy. She gave it more malt and cod liver oil and a ball of Horlicks. She also gave it some cream cakes and chocolates despite of Harriet's refusal. So it was a rich diet. काफ़ी heavy खाना, ठोस खाना, okay, fatty खाना. So what was the veterinary surgeon's warning to Mr. Pumphrey? Harriet looked at the dog again. Its big trouble was that it had become greedy. It did not refuse food. Harriet asked Mrs. Pumphrey if she had been giving the dog plenty of exercise. She said she had not. Harriet warned her if she didn't cut its food and give it more physical exercise, it would be really ill. She said that he was right, but it was difficult for her. अब बीमारी इतनी बढ़ गई है उसकी फैटीनेस की. So Tricky is to be in the hospital now. Let us see what happens. For the next few days, Mrs. Pumphrey told Harriet that Tricky didn't eat anything. It refused to eat even its favorite dishes. It spent all its time lying painting. थका थका सा रहता है, भारी सांस लेते हुए लेटता है. The narrator had made his plans in advance. He suggested that Tricky should be hospitalized for about a fortnight. Fortnight is a period of 2 weeks. The lady almost became unconscious. So much she loved her dog. She was sure that it would die if he did not see it. So the narrator, the veterinary surgeon, takes Tricky in the hospital, he took the dog in his car. Mrs. Pumphrey gave Tricky's belongings like bed, cushions, toys, various bowls, coats, etc. At the hospital, Tricky looked down at other dogs. They sniffed around it and ignored him. The narrator kept an eye on Tricky for 2 days. He gave it plenty of water, but no food at all. On the third day, it started whimpering on seeing other dogs. It followed them down the garden. Later that day, other dogs had their food. When they had finished, Tricky walked around the bowls. He also licked them. It meant he was hungry. It was given some food. So Tricky shows some improvement. Tricky started to show progress. It was given no medical treatment at all. It ran about with the dogs all day. It discovered the joy of being with other dogs. Meanwhile, Mrs. Pumphrey continued ringing regularly. She asked various questions about Tricky, but the narrator told her that the dog was out of the danger. Mrs. Pumphrey started to bring round fresh eggs to build up Tricky's strength. The narrator began giving Tricky wine before and during the meal. The dog began to drink brandy also. Tricky now had one extra egg in the morning. It had wine at noon and brandy in the evening. After a fortnight, the narrator rang her up saying the dog was all right. So Mrs. Pumphrey would obviously come to take Tricky home. And so happens. Mrs. Pumphrey arrived at the narrator's surgery in a big car. She asked him if the dog was bitter. The narrator told that the dog was fine. He would bring it to her. When Tricky saw its mistress, it ran into Pumphrey's lap. It began licking her face and barking. So this was Tricky's cure, which is known as the triumph of surgery. And it shows how the narrator helped the driver to bring out various Tricky's things. And these were Tricky's beds, toys, cushions, and coats and bowls. They had not been used. Okay. As the car moved away, Mrs. Pumphrey leaned out of the window. Tears shone in her eyes. Her lips trembled. So, her lips trembled. उसके होठ कांप रहे थे. उसकी आंखों में आंसू थे. He told the narrator it was a triumph of surgery. उसने नरेटर को बताया सर्जरी की जीत है, सर्जरी की विजय है, जबकि सर्जरी कोई करी ही नहीं गई है. देखिए आप, सिर्फ एक वेटरनरी डॉक्टर की सूझबूझ और समझदारी. What all things we have seen here? Why is Mrs. Pumphrey worried about Tricky? Because he was becoming usually fat. It looked like a blotted sausage. Its eyes are blood red, and its tongue lolls down its jaws. This is why Mrs. Pumphrey was worried and shocked about Tricky. So, this was the main reason why she had called the veterinary doctor. Excuse me, please. And how does the veterinary doctor treat the dog? So, Mrs. Pumphrey, calls Mr. Harriet for Tricky. Mr. Harriet here is a veterinary doctor, as you all know. We have been telling you time and again. So she is very wise in this, calling a doctor for her pet. So nobody else can know about the doctor, about the animals, except the veterinary doctors. The narrator, the veterinary doctor is not as rich as Tricky's mistress. He takes the dog, Tricky, to his surgery. There he does not give much food to Tricky. He instead cuts its food. He keeps, he keeps it on a strict diet. He keeps it under observation. It denotes here is Tricky. At the end of the second day, Tricky changes. It starts showing some interest in the surroundings. And the third day, it whimpers. Okay. So this is how the progress is made. But Mrs. Pumphrey thinks that the dog's recovery is a triumph of surgery. Because surgery, here it means a hospital, it has made Tricky all right. So Tricky's stay at the surgery has cured his illness. That's all for today. Thank you, everyone. God bless you all. Goodbye and good luck.